Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, October 3rd, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today is 77.2 degrees, with a low of 62.1, so expect a mild fall day perfect for getting out and enjoying the crisp air. Coming up, we'll break down the reasons behind the U.S. declaring war on drug cartels and what that means for border security and public health. We'll also look into the specific demands the Trump administration is issuing to elite American universities regarding campus policies and funding. Plus, other key developments from around the world, including economic updates and international diplomacy. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Good morning, everyone. We start today with a stunning development in the fight against drug cartels. President Trump has declared a non-international armed conflict with these powerful groups, following deadly strikes in the Caribbean. This could change how America tackles the drug crisis forever. Joining me now from the studio to break it all down is our national security correspondent, Ethan.
Thanks, Grace. Yes, this is a bold and controversial move by the Trump administration. On October 2nd, 2025, the president issued a confidential memo declaring the United States in a non-international armed conflict, or NIAC as experts call it, with Latin American drug cartels. That means treating them as unlawful combatants like non-state fighters in a war zone, not just criminals. According to reporting from the Associated Press, this positions drug trafficking itself as an armed attack on our country, justifying military action under the law of armed conflict.
Wow, Ethan. A non-international armed conflict sounds intense. For our viewers tuning in, what exactly does that term mean, and how does it apply here across borders?
Great question, Grace. Normally, a NIAC refers to fighting within one country between a government and rebel groups, rooted in international humanitarian law from the 1949 Geneva Conventions and the International Committee of the Red Cross definitions. But the Trump memo stretches it transnationally across the Western Hemisphere. The threshold comes from the 1995 Tadic case by the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, requiring organized groups and intense violence. The administration says cartels qualify with their hierarchies and nonstop drug ops, despite allies trying to shut them down. Legal expert Matthew Waxman, a Columbia law professor and former Bush official, called it a very far stretch in Yahoo News, warning it might greenlight lethal force anywhere in the hemisphere.
And this memo surfaced after those Caribbean strikes last month. Can you walk us through what happened there and how it ties in?
Absolutely. The memo, dated around September 18th, was sent to Congress then and leaked exclusively by AP reporters Amr Madani and Lisa Mascaro. It follows 3 U.S. military strikes on suspected drug boats in September. First, on September 2nd, a strike hit a speedboat linked to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang, killing 11 people. The White House claimed it carried drugs and ties to Nicolas Maduro's regime, but a U.S. National Intelligence Council report from April or May contradicted that, describing their link as an uneasy mix of cooperation and confrontation, per The Washington Post and Newsweek. Then, on September 15th, another boat was destroyed, killing about 3, with at least 2 vessels from Venezuela. The third strike's details are fuzzier, but total deaths hit around 17. All this amid a big U.S. buildup, 8 Navy warships and over 5,000 sailors and Marines, as anonymous defense officials told AP and Yahoo News. The memo calls these self-defense under UN Charter Article 51, since drugs cause tens of thousands of American overdose deaths yearly.
It sounds like the administration's been laying groundwork with those terrorist labels earlier this year. What's the connection?
Spot on. This builds on February 20th designations by the State Department, listing Tren de Aragua, Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, and El Salvador's Mara Salvatrucha as foreign terrorist organizations under immigration law, plus specially designated global terrorists, detailed on state.gov and the Federal Register, that ban support and amps sanctions. In July, the Treasury hit Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles as a global terrorist alleging ties to Maduro and the others, per Treasury announcements. Now, under the NIAC, cartels get treated like al-Qaeda-style threats, allowing captures or strikes without trials. But no public list of all targets yet, frustrating Congress in briefings last week and October 1st, as CBS News and Military.com reported.
Congress is fired up, right? What's the backlash look like?
Bipartisan outrage, Grace. Senators called the Pentagon briefing October 1st a dodge of congressional oversight, per ABC7 and AP sources. Rhode Island Senator Jack Reed, a vet, slammed it as lacking legal juice or evidence, saying cartels need cops, not secret wars, quoted across Yahoo and The Guardian. Colorado Representative Jason Crow introduced a resolution October 2nd to stop unauthorized hits on Congress.gov. Human rights folks like Amnesty International decry it as extrajudicial killings, especially that 11-death strike in The Guardian. Critics say it skirts the 1973 War Powers Resolution, unlike post-9/11 rules with Congress on board. And internationally, it's quiet so far, no big statements from Mexico, Venezuela, or the UN as of today, October 3rd, though Maduro calls it imperialist aggression in state media, per the Miami Herald. Experts in Newsweek worry about ops on foreign soil without permission.
This feels like a high-stakes game of cartel whack-a-mole, Ethan, blending law and lore of war. Does the White House see it as fulfilling promises?
They do, Grace. Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly tied it to Trump's America First vow to stop cartels, quote, poisoning, end quote, our shores. But with congressional probes looming, it could reshape anti-drug fights or isolate us globally. UNODC data shows cartels' violence has killed hundreds of thousands in Latin America alone.
Fascinating and fraught stuff, Ethan. Thanks for unpacking this complex story. Good morning, folks. We're turning now to our second story of the day, a bombshell in higher education, where the White House is pushing universities to sign what they're calling a compact for excellence. But is it more like a contract with the devil for academic freedom? Joining me to unpack this is our education reporter, Chloe. Chloe, what's the latest on this pressure cooker from the Trump administration?
Thanks, Grace. On this third day of the federal government shutdown, the administration is turning up the heat on 9 top U.S. universities to adopt this proposed Compact for Academic Excellence in Higher Education. It's a 9 to 10-page memo, first reported by the Wall Street Journal yesterday, October 2nd, and backed up by the Washington Post, NPR, PBS NewsHour, and the Chronicle of Higher Education. Signed by Education Secretary Linda McMahon, White House Domestic Policy Council Director Vince Haley, and Senior Advisor for Special Projects May Mailman, it dangles carrots like priority federal grants, student loans, research funding, visa approvals for foreign scholars, and tax perks for those who sign on.
That sounds coercive. What exactly are they demanding in this so-called compact? Give us the rundown on the key points.
Absolutely, Grace. It's a 10-point framework detailed in the Chronicle of Higher Education, Forbes, CBS News, and The Guardian. First up, tuition controls universities must freeze rates for U.S. students for 5 years and refund tuition to undergrads who drop out in their first term. Schools with endowments over $2 million per student, think Ivy Leagues, have to offer free tuition in hard science programs like STEM for families not rolling in dough. Critics in the Washington Post say this ignores inflation and real costs, like trying to freeze a volcano.
Pun intended on the heat? Okay, and what about international students? That's a big revenue stream for campuses.
Spot on. The compact caps undergrad international enrollment at 15% of the student body, with no more than 5% from any one country. Universities must hand over all info on these students to the Department of Homeland Security and State Department on request. India Times and Business Today report this for national security, but NPR estimates it could slash the $45 billion a year foreign tuition brings in, hitting diversity and wallets hard.
Ouch. Now, on gender and facilities, how does this tie into bigger policies?
It's enforcing a strict binary definition of gender for bathrooms, locker rooms, and women's sports, rolling back broader Title IX views on identity. PBS NewsHour and The Guardian link it to the administration's anti-gender ideology push, clashing with the Supreme Court's 2020 Bostock v. Clayton County ruling that protects LGBTQ+ folks. It's like drawing lines in the sand where the tide of progress was flowing.
Clever. Shifting to admissions and hiring, any bombshells there?
Big ones. It bans race, sex, ethnicity, nationality, political views, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious ties, or proxies in those decisions, with exceptions for single-sex or religious schools. All undergrad applicants need standardized tests like SAT, ACT, or classic learning test scores. Schools must share anonymized data on GPAs, scores by race, origin, sex, and postgrad earnings per program publicly. This amps up the Supreme Court's 2023 Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard ruling ending affirmative action, per The Chronicle and Forbes.
An ideological balance? Sounds like they're policing thoughts.
Yep, signatories foster a vibrant marketplace of ideas without one political slant, via annual polls on viewpoint diversity among faculty, students, staff. They must transform or axe departments punishing conservative ideas, per Newsweek and Reason.com. It's aimed at liberal bias but could muzzle progressives too.
Protests and neutrality next?
Prohibits demos disrupting classes, libraries, or harassing folks. Employees can't do political speech on the job. Enforcing institutional neutrality. CBS News and Al Jazeera say it's curbing activism, echoing Trump's first-term free speech orders.
Efficiency and transparency?
Cut admin costs, disclose all foreign funding to fight woke bureaucracies and influence, as the Washington Examiner notes.
Who got this memo? And what's their take?
Vanderbilt, Penn, Dartmouth, USC, MIT, UT Austin, University of Arizona, Brown, UVA, chosen for excellence per Forbes and PBS. Responses vary. MIT and others like USC, Vanderbilt, Brown, Dartmouth, Arizona are reviewing quietly. UT Austin's Regents Chairman Kevin L. Teef called it an honor per Texas Tribune and KUT.org. Penn's AAUP chapter slammed it as a threat to freedom in the Daily Pennsylvanian, UVA's forming a group, per the Cavalier Daily.
Broader backlash?
Fierce. American Council on Education's Ted Mitchell says don't sign, it's federal meddling, via Chronicle and Higher Ed Dive. AAUP calls it a loyalty oath. California Governor Gavin Newsom threatens to yank billions in state aid from signers like USC, per his site and LA Times. NPR affiliates like Cap Radio, KUOW-WUNC tie it to shutdown woes.
Legal hurdles?
Experts from Middle Tennessee State University Free Speech Center, Harvard Law Review, Cornell Law School question it under spending clause, unconstitutional conditions, cites cases like South Dakota v. Dole 1987, Agency for International Development v. Alliance 2013, Kieshin v. Board 1967. Could forced speech violate First Amendment academic freedom? No formal notices yet, per Politico. Lawsuits loom from AAUP, ACE in the National Law Review, Reason.com. Deadlines November 21st, 49 days away.
Phew, a real academic Armageddon brewing. Thanks for breaking it down so thoroughly, Chloe.
My pleasure, Grace.
Here are some other headlines. Munich Airport hit the pause button overnight after multiple drone sightings, grounding flights from 10:18 p.m. Thursday, October 2nd, until 5 a.m. Friday, October 3rd. 17 departures were scrubbed and 15 arrivals diverted, affecting nearly 3,000 passengers. Federal police searched by helicopter but found neither drones nor their pilots. The incident joins a string of mystery flyovers in Denmark and Norway, pushing European leaders to fast-track anti-drone defenses, amid warnings that such overflights may be hybrid attacks. In Georgia, critics say democracy is being marched off in handcuffs. Ahead of local elections this weekend, authorities have intensified a crackdown on protesters, activists, and media, arrests, violence, and fines, including a civics teacher hit with $102,000. Rights groups describe politically motivated prosecutions and foreign agent-style measures. In August, accounts of 7 NGOs were frozen under a sabotage probe alleging they supplied masks and pepper spray. Human Rights Watch calls it an unprecedented rights crisis. Jailed ex-president Mikhail Saakashvili urges a Saturday mass rally, the last chance, to save democracy. Brussels warns the repressive turn is far from what's expected of an EU candidate. A thaw at 35,000 feet. India and China will reboot direct passenger flights by late October 2025, ending a 5-year grounding that began with COVID and lingered through border tensions. After technical talks between aviation regulators and a meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping, Indigo plans a daily non-stop from Kolkata to Guangzhou starting October 26, 2025. Air India is mapping a Delhi-Shanghai return by year's end as both sides refresh their air services agreement. For students, business travelers, and tourists, the detours are done. Fewer hops, lower costs, and more people-to-people lift as the Elephant and Dragon share runway again. A historic first for the Church of England, Dame Sarah Mullally, the Bishop of London and a former Chief Nursing Officer for England, has been named the 106th Archbishop of Canterbury, the first woman to hold the role. Approved by King Charles III after Justin Welby's resignation, the 63-year-old will take up the post legally in January 2026, with installation slated for March at Canterbury Cathedral. She inherits a flock of 85 million across the Anglican Communion and a thicket of thorny issues, from divisions over same-sex marriage to safeguarding scandals. Supporters, including Prime Minister Keir Starmer, say she brings clinical calm and pastoral care, ready to bishop, not just dish up platitudes. And in the Philippines, Typhoon Matmo, locally Paulo, made landfall at Dinapigue and Isabela, with sustained winds near 130 kilometers per hour, prompting top storm signals across northern and central Luzon. Classes were suspended, sea travel halted, and relief teams redeployed. The timing is torrential. Agencies are still responding to a 6.9 magnitude earthquake Tuesday that killed at least 68 people and displaced more than 80,000 families, and to the deadly toll of Tropical Storm Boaloy last week. It's a multi-front mission as officials juggle shelters, supplies, and aftershocks, proof that life on the Ring of Fire often means fighting on all fronts. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.